Hey, thank you, everyone for attending today's webinar, negativity or negating negativity in the workplace. And the training today is being sponsored in part by our USDA's Rural Community Development Initiative, which helps fund ECA's Rural Training Institute. Today's speaker is Bob McKenzie. Bob has over 40 years of human resource management experience, and his background includes a wide range of hands-on HR practices in a variety of industries in all areas of human resource management. He started McKenzieHR, a human resource management firm in Jacksonville, Florida in 2002. Bob's been cited in a number of human resource trade publications. Among them are HR.com, HR Magazine, HR Florida Review, the Jacksonville Business Journal, Vault.com, BNA, and Institute of Management and Administration. He has been a speaker at a number of conferences, as well as the national audio and web-based seminars. Bob is a graduate of Rider University, where he received a Bachelor's of Science and Commerce degree and a double major in Industrial Relations and Organizational Behavior. Today's training is being recorded and will be made available later on our YouTube channel. So I'll go ahead and let Bob take it away. I'll stop
sharing. You're gonna, there we are. Good. Okay, now I gotta figure out how to share my screen. Here we go. And I think it's this one. Let me try that.
There you go.
Okay, there we go. It's all working well. First of all, I'd like to say thank you, Patricia, for setting all of this up. I know that's a lot more work than it sounds like, so I really do appreciate that. And we went back and forth on a few things here, but I think we got this thing all settled up. Negativity in the workplace. Like I said, like Tricia said, I've been in HR for over 40 years, and that's where we stop, by the way. 40 is it. It's been more than that, so it's over 40. But anyway, throughout my career, I have seen negativity thrive in just about every workplace. I don't know if it's like human.
Yes, please. We're just trying to figure it.
Yeah, could you do me a favor and mute yourself right now? That's one of my requests, but you can talk at any time, but I get all this back noise all the time. So if you can mute yourself now, and then if you want to talk, just unmute yourself and then say, hey, Bob, okay? And that's cool. But anyway, it's kind of like human nature, I think, that negativity in the workplace just kind of happens. We tend to talk about the negative things and not the positive things of the organization. And I'm sure there's a lot of really good points about your organization, but certain things happen. And so with that in mind, I'm just going to get started with my required disclaimer, which says the information in this presentation is not intended as and should not be considered as legal advice. I do a lot of webinars on HR topics. A lot of them are compliance related. And so that's just part of what I have to say. And so that's done. Areas to be addressed. First thing I'm going to talk about, a little history lesson with Spiro Agnew, who coined an interesting term and how I got this thing going. Then I'm going to talk a little bit about new employees and how they are welcomed or not welcomed in the workplace, and what happens, okay, when they're not welcome. I'm going to talk a little bit about where negativity thrives, why it thrives, and then I'm going to go into this empirical study that was done on negativity in the workplace. I'm not going to go into it in big detail or anything like that. I'm just going to talk about their top 3 findings, which is very obvious. Okay. Then I'm going to talk about how to stop negativity. Okay. Now, I talk about nabobs here. It's like, what's a nabob? We'll get to that. Okay. When we get to Spiro Agnew. Okay, and action items. I end all of my webinars with action items on your part. And there's quite a few of them in this particular training session that I want you to kind of go over. And then eh, I try to do all of my webinars and some of that with the contractor yourself. And by that, I mean that um, I want you to think about two things you're going to be doing differently to make your workplace a more positive work environment. Okay. Whether it's like talking to someone who's that negative Nelly, okay, and it's kind of interesting. Years ago, I had a person working for me, not working for me, working with me, and her name was Wendy Weiner, and that was her name described her perfectly. So anyway, with that in mind, we're going to go and talk a little bit about Spiro Agnew. Now, if some of you don't know, Spiro Agnew was a vice president under Richard Nixon. It was a very interesting time in the history of America, 1973. He was investigated. Well, actually, I just want to say he was prior to being the vice president, he was the governor of Maryland. And he was investigated for a number of crimes, including bribery, extortion, tax evasion, and basically there was a lot more than just smoke out there. There was some real fire out there. But he resigned in October 1973, pleaded no contest to tax evasion, had a payback. He didn't do any jail time. There was, like I said, a lot of stuff where he was bribery and extortion. Like if you wanted a contract in the state of Maryland, you got to pay him first. Okay. And during this whole investigation period, the press was on him all the time. So he coined the term nattering nabobs of negativism. Okay. And that was the original title of this seminar was negating the nattering nabobs of negativism. So you're going to see a lot of alliterations and that kind of thing through here. By the way, a nabob is a person of conspicuous wealth or high status. I've never heard the term before until I saw that, but I had to look it up. People keep asking me what a nabob was, and I kept saying, I don't know. Okay, so now I know, and you know. Now, here's the whole thing. Oh, here he is, handsome man. So anyway, that's all I'm going to talk about with Spiro. I'm going to say some things about nabobs every once in a while, but that's about it. New employee. Let's think about this. A new employee, and I'm sorry, all of you started it sometime or another, and you probably came into the new job very highly motivated. Okay. All right. They come to the new job highly motivated. You've got a whole new lease on life. They got a new outlook on things. So therefore, you got to think about how they come in, and then, okay, they're looking for a whole new beginning. Will become extremely demotivated quickly in a negative environment. Now, I will tell you, in my own experiences and starting jobs, like I said, I started my company a little over 20 years ago, but prior to that, I was kind of caught up in all the downsizing there, and that's why I started my own company. It was right after 9/11, and I thought, I'm not going to find a job soon, so I started my own company. But I just want to say that there were plenty of times when I walked into a place, nobody said hello to me. There was no emails that went out. There was no, I wasn't, I had no email access. And I was giving a couple of pieces of paper to sign, and that was about it. Okay. One place, I just want to let you know that I was told to go and sit in this 10 by 10 room full floor to ceiling with 3-ring binders, and it was all the way around the room, okay, of nothing but policies and procedure manuals for every little thing you could think of. My orientation or onboarding was to read all the policies and procedures. I can't think of anything more boring to do. And on top of that, my first day, they forgot I was there. I got hungry. I was actually in a new place. I didn't know the neighborhood that well. And so I came out about 1 o'clock feeling hungry and like thinking, oh, I guess I'm going out to lunch by myself. The whole idea here is you got to have a welcoming environment. Are you welcoming and supporting new employees? Are you reaching out to say hello? Are you reaching out to say who you are? What kind of a relationship, working relationship you will have with a new employee? Do we send out, a email or memo to everyone saying, hey, welcome to Julie. We're glad to have you here. This is one of the things that you really have to do and be very cognizant of, and it's got to be all employees. You could have the best onboarding program through your HR department, but if you walk into your workplace, okay, and you don't feel welcomed, okay, that's going to be a problematic thing. That's why it's got to be across the board, okay? And I'm going to say, okay, where it thrives. Well, we've got grapevines, the rumor mill, okay? These are things that kind of happen. And the thing is, it's not just verbal, okay? In today's world, you've got all kinds of things on Facebook. You've got these, chat rooms or whatever that they call them today, okay, or group chats. Then we have the, like I said, the rumor mill. So we have to talk about these things and think about that. It could be disgruntled employees. They just don't like what's going on, so they're going to start something. True or not, it doesn't matter, okay? They're going to start something. Usually it's not true. And usually the grapevine and the rumor mill are probably about 75% incorrect, okay? There may be a few things that are right, but usually they're not, okay? Break area. Oh, that's a wonderful place. I used to be a smoker, and I would go out in the break area, and there's like all these people out there smoking, and you would overhear conversations. And it was really interesting. I got more information about all the rumors and innuendos and these kinds of things just by listening in to employees talking to each other. And I had to stand in and say, that's not really true. So if you have anything like that, why don't you just come to me? I was the HR director of this place, and ask me about it, and then we'll get to the bottom of things. So I try to keep that negativity from kind of growing on. Now, once you get involved in this negativity trap, your negativity, gossip, innuendo, those kinds of things, you do fall into a negativity trap that is very, very hard to get out of. Okay. And with that, I want to say, here you go. It's that whirlwind. It sucks you in, and then it's just like those tornadoes that kind of happen that you cannot get out of it. Okay. So, and I'm going to tell you that the negativity trap is destructive. It's damaging and downright devastating, not only to your work environment, to the entire organization. So I just want to say that these, and look, I got some of this because I got caught up in them, okay, in a few places that I worked, and I realized once I started my company that was very, very dangerous, for all of us, and it also ended up happening is that you get a little bit the negativity, then you start becoming a little disgruntled, then you start looking for new jobs. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, okay, the grass isn't necessarily any greener on the other side. So the whole idea here is to make sure that you do not get into that negativity trap. I'll get into that just a little bit later. But right now, we're going to go say, why does it happen? Well, there's coworkers. Coworkers will just suck you in, okay? And then you, like I said, you're stuck in that. Or there's certain coworkers out there that you don't like working with, and so therefore, we start talking about that person, behind their back, or those kinds of things. Okay, So those are areas, okay, that you've got to avoid. Then there's the backstabbers, okay? I worked at a place that was the culture, okay? We had to backstab each other, and I never got involved in it, but I know I was the talk of the town certain times because of decisions you make. That's always true in HR, okay? You're always second guessed. Listen, one of the things that you have to stop if you're doing this, and what I'm saying here right now is I want you to do a little bit of introspection, on yourself to think about, do I talk about coworkers behind their back? Have I done some backstabbing? So in other words, I'm not going to take responsibility for my mistakes. The fact of the matter is this: you're human beings. You're going to make mistakes, okay? And others are going to make mistakes. But if we backstab somebody, by that I mean we're going to talk unkindly about them or doing the blame game, for somebody else. Clicks, very dangerous, okay? And what I mean by that is a number of people that I've seen have to to get accepted in the organization, have to kind of run through the gauntlet there of these cliques and be accepted by them before, okay, they're allowed to be accepted in the organization. Okay, no, those cliques have got to be broken up. And if you're in one and talking about other people and you're not allowing others to enter in to the organization, and I'm talking about the organization, not the clique, okay, then you got to kind of stop that and make sure that you're welcoming and supportive of everyone in the organization. There's a lack of teamwork going on. If you ask somebody for help, they're going to say, "No, do it yourself." Okay, that is a negative work environment. And I want to tell you another thing that kind of happens. Okay, if you are driving to work, okay, or coming into work, and you're even if you're working remotely and you're in there and you can say, okay, got to sign into my work software or whatever that kind of thing is. And if you have a knot in your stomach as you're driving to work or signing in, okay, that's stress. That means that you're worried about what's going to happen and who's going to say what and all of that kind of thing. Who's going to backstab you today? Who's going to talk about you today? Okay, the lack of teamwork is one of those things that we're going to start talking about other people. But that stress, okay, is a killer. So what you're doing, okay, if you have a negative work environment, and this is the number one reason why people leave organizations, by the way, okay, and the whole thing is it's not healthy for you, nor is it healthy for the organization. So, but think of yourself first. It's not healthy for you if you're in a negative environment. The blame game. Okay, I made a mistake, but I'm going to blame it on Alicia. Why am I talking about Alicia? Because she's first on the list here. But anyway, I'm going to blame it on Alicia. Why? Because I don't want to get myself in trouble. I don't want to sit here and say it's my problem. Okay, because Alicia did it. Okay, and that is another negative work environment. And like I said before, everybody makes mistakes. Okay, so admit them. You've got to be honest about things. So that's got to be part of the game here. And this is how we get caught in that whirlwind. And here we go again. Why? Okay, because it's allowed to. Think about this, okay? So if Jennifer comes to talk to me about, let me see here. I got to look at something here. Okay, we got the 12 people here. Good, all right, I'm going to do this. So I have more names here now. Okay, people here. So if Jennifer starts talking to me about Michelle, okay, and she's all kinds of upset about Michelle and what Michelle does or doesn't do, and she doesn't really do her job, and she's trying to sabotage my job, and you know what? If I could sit here and Jennifer's talking to me about that, I can do one of two things. I can start engaging in the conversation. Okay. Oh, yeah. Well, she did that to me, too. And so I'm just letting you know that another thing I could do is hey, listen, I don't really want to hear all of that. First of all, okay, whatever, did I talk about Michelle? Okay. Um, I forget. But anyway, so Jennifer's talking to me, and I'm going to say, hey, um, wait a minute here. That's not going to be doing us any good. Okay. If we're going to complain to each other, all it's going to do is get us more riled up, get us more caught up in the whirlwind, get us more caught up in the negativity. And the next thing we know, we're going to talk about Michelle, behind her back, and we're not going to do that teamwork kinds of thing. Okay. The thing we want to do is if Michelle is really doing those kinds of things, we got to sit down and talk to Michelle. Now, on the other side of that, okay, Michelle has got to be open to conversation, open to a little bit of change. But I'm just telling you, if I join in on Jennifer's conversation, then I'm going to go tell Amanda, and then I'm going to tell Kristen, and then I'm going to tell everybody else in the organization, and I'm going to tell Shinier, okay, Schneer, I'm sorry. But anyway, these are, and then what happens is we're all involved in this whirlwind, and the only thing is, you never said no, I don't want to get involved. What we're doing is just adding, okay, to the negativity in the organization. You hear what I'm saying? And you can raise your hand or do whatever it is if you have a question. By the way, I forgot to tell you, I see you're all on mute, which is good. And if you want to ask a question, please feel free. Just, unmute yourself, okay? Because I think you're all that way. But I just want you to know that unmute yourself, chime in, and say, hey, Bob, and I think I did say that. So anyway, I'm just going to say because it's allowed to, and it's allowed to by coworkers. I even worked for a vice president of HR one time, and that was what she did. Okay, she talked negatively, badly about all the other employees and even a lot of the executives that were in the organization. And it really did bring down a lot of the organization, okay, especially within the HR department. And we had about 15 people working there. She would have her meeting and she would talk. And she would actually bring out a bowl of milk, and she said she's getting catty. That was her little deal. So yeah, it's funny. One of the things that you learn about, you look in your past and you say, nah, I shouldn't have done that. Okay. So they were mistakes in my past. And now I know not to do that kind of thing. I also take a look at how not to do things from some of the people I work with. Okay. So you've got to look at this and say, no, I didn't like it when that happened where I worked at an old place. And then move on and change. Make sure you don't follow the same kind of behaviors. Okay. So anyway, why? Take a look at our coworkers. Are you acting like this? Are you one of those screamer yeller kind of people that kind of like, anything that goes wrong will go wrong and you're going to scream and yell at somebody? Is that how it's going to be? If you're doing that kind of thing, stop it. Okay? People hate it. How about this one? People that something went wrong and I'm gonna go crazy. Things go wrong all the time. Okay? And so what we're going to do, we're going to talk about this person behind their back. Both of these people behind their back, because they kind of like lose control. Okay. Now, if that is destructive behavior, okay, then that's got to stop. Okay. And if the boss isn't going to do anything about it, we've got to, kind of tell them about it. How about the yes man? Here's the bobblehead. I always hated the yes men, okay, or yes women, okay, and they just kind of say, "Yep, boss, yeah, whatever you say," okay. Basically, yes men are or yes women are bothersome. Is that a good one? Okay. And actually, anybody that's in a management position shouldn't really look for someone who is a yes person, because of the fact that there's really no, the thing is this, okay? Conflict is okay. All right. And that's the thing I want to tell you about. Conflict is okay. In fact, being human, okay? We're going to have different ideas about how to get from point A to point B, okay? But it doesn't have to be nasty, okay? Like the first two pictures I showed, it doesn't have to be, the yes person who is just nodding their head and they say, hey, don't you have any other ideas behind this? And that's kind of problematic sometimes when you're working with individuals who are like this, and they may be the brunt of some of the negative talk that's going on. Or the next thing, do you remember? See, I'm kind of showing my age here because I talked about Spiro Agnew, and now I'm going to talk about something that was really big back in the mid 70s or so. It's that pet rock. Has anybody here had a pet rock? It was big thing. Everybody had one. Okay. Why? Well, you don't have to take care of it. You don't have to clean up after it. It just sits there, and that's your pet rock. People bought them like crazy, but that's the person that just sits there and doesn't say anything. So, yeah, that's kind of bothersome. And we try and elicit some response from some of these people, okay, that are out there. We're also going to talk a lot about that failure, okay? The lesson in real life is there's no such thing as an A for effort, okay, in business, okay? In fact, my whole thing is in business world, if you're at 95% accurate, okay, in what you're doing in the business world, that is an F, okay? So the idea here is when you're looking at, standards of performance or something like that, you should be at 99% or above. And if you are an air traffic controller, you should be much higher than that. Okay. If you're only at 99% as an air traffic controller, think about how many airplane accidents there be every day. So the whole idea here is you've got to make sure that you are, and that if someone is not holding up their end of the bargain, they are the subject of talk amongst coworkers. Now, talking about that person, again, is not going to do anybody any good, okay? If, again, Dawn and I are talking about John, who is not meeting his standards of performance, not helping out at all, then that is problematic, okay? Because all it does is it frustrates us more, okay? Dawn and I are going to get more frustrated about John, and nothing's being done, okay? We have to do something else about that. And if it means talking to the supervisor, that might be one of the things that you want to do. Now, supervisor may have some other plans, moving on, but they can't really tell you about it so much. So just saying that these kinds of things are all things that we have to do and understand, that getting involved in that kind of talk isn't going to work, okay? So next thing with that in mind, okay, here we go. Here's my, now I put all this stuff on the top here just to let you know the impact of negative workplace gossip on the organization. Now, negative emotion, gender discrimination, negative workplace gossip, negatively correlate to an organization's self-esteem. That was the hypothesis. And I felt like saying, okay. And what they have found out, okay, it's common in many workplaces. A negative workplace phenomenon, as a negative workplace phenomenon, it might bring many adverse effects to the enterprise and the employees. And this was a clinical study that was done, okay? And then they said it spreads quickly and accompanied by a magnifying effect. And it had three different characteristics. They're right here. It's one. Okay, it spreads quickly. Okay, the degree of influence depends largely on the subjective perception of the person being gossiped. If they're gossiping about a person, typically that's what's going on. They're gossiping about a person, whether it be the CEO or someone else that is working in the non-C position. So the thing is, negative workplace gossip is hidden. Oh, yes, which makes it extremely challenging to trace the source of gossip. So somebody went through this whole empirical study in 2002 and 2016 and 2012. And then I would say, looking at all of this and all this money spent, my thought is this. Duh, do we really have to have an empirical study that said that negativity in the workplace is detrimental to the organization? I like how they do that. I guess some people have to have these empirical studies being done. But the thing is, when you look at that, it's not a big deal. I am going to do my own empirical study. I'm probably going to make $1 million to prove to you that water is truly wet. It's raining today. I went outside. I got wet. Water came down. So anyway, just kind of silly things that we kind of do here. Then what I want to do, okay, these nabobs, try to nip them as nicely as possible, but don't get involved in their gossiping, okay? First of all, you want to set the example. You are not going to handle this kind of stuff but you're going to set the example by number one, not getting involved, okay, in any kind of gossip, blame game, rumor mills, or anything like that. Set that example, okay? Be courageous. And by that, I mean, when someone is talking negatively about another employee or the organization, you've got to stand up and say, look, I really understand your frustration, but it's not something that I'm going to get involved with. Now, the whole idea here is the negativity people, the only reason it spreads is because it has an audience, because it's allowed to. Okay. If the audience stops, okay, then you've got, then what ends up happening? The negativity stops as well. So just be careful about that. Don't allow nabob to spread negativity. The whole idea here is we don't know if the stuff's true, if they're spreading rumors or innuendos or stuff like that. So you don't allow them to spread negativity. You've got to do certain things to ensure teamwork by making sure that you involve others, okay, in the work that you have to do. Ask for help, and then, okay, part of your job is if you're asked to help, you help as much as you can. Okay, ensure that strong teamwork on both ends of the equation there. Be honest. You know, one of the things that's so amazing to me that, you know, you go through these organizations, and this is going to be your big aha moment here, okay, is that people lie. Okay. I know that was your aha moment. People lie, but you've got to be honest, because the only way, okay, that you're going to stop some of this negativity is by lying, okay? And you got to build that level of trust. 99.9% of the people surveyed about what they want from their organization is to have a high level of trust, not only of their management, but also coworkers. So these are kinds of things that you've got to do and build that trust. So here's another thing, okay? If you have betrayed somebody's trust, or if someone's trust, they betrayed you, it's very hard to bring that back up. But that is something that you may want to go back and work on as time moves on, okay? So let's just kind of go from there. Directly, this could be certain things that, you know, you can even do as a coworker or a manager. Make sure they have facts, not gossip or spread rumors. like I said, most of these gossip and rumors are not true. So, we've got to make sure that when we address these individuals that say, how do you know that? And why are you spreading that? Okay, so those are the kinds of things that you've got to do. Their behavior is disruptive. NABOB's behavior is disruptive to the workplace. And it's one of those things that we've got to make sure, okay, that we're not disrupting the workplace. We are therefore spreading distrust of other employees. Not a good work environment to be in. Okay, so just tell them, look, I don't know if what you're saying is true or not, but you know what? I just want to get my job done, and all this other stuff is peripheral, doesn't matter. We just need to get our job done. And that really, and we get involved in some of these back office gossip and types of things. It's just, like I said, it's disruptive. Okay. NABOB spreading, tell them, look, just spreading negativity on in and of itself is not acceptable. What I want you all to do is then take a look at, and I'll go over this in a little bit too, but what are the good parts about, take stock of that. What are the good things about working for your organization? No place is going to be perfect. Okay, so no place is going to be the perfect work environment. Okay, so therefore, what you've got to do is make sure that you tell people, yeah, stop that. Okay, just stop. All right. Complaining to coworkers only makes the problem worse. And that's what I've said. If I'm complaining to Michelle about something here, picking on Michelle again, but if I am complaining to Michelle about something here, okay, all that happens is that we get more frustrated. And therefore, we can then spread it. We're going to talk to Marla, we're going to talk to Justin, we're going to talk to Kristen, and everybody's going to get involved in this whole thing, okay, as far as what's happening. And it's going to make the problem worse. Now we got this bigger audience. Whoa, I could talk to about 5 people now about this negativity that's going on. And who knows who the other people are talking to. So all I'm saying is complaining to coworkers only makes the problem worse. We've got to do something to make the situation better, okay? And I will tell the NABOB to go to the supervisor and not talk to me about it. If you're worried about these kind of things, talk to your supervisor. And that goes back to the thing about the courageousness of talking about certain things. Talk to the supervisor. I don't want backstabbing going on. I just want to make sure that we all know that, what is happening in the organization. Our idea is to be as productive as possible and try and go to the supervisor, HR department, whoever it is that, they feel comfortable going to, and then let's get the real story. Okay. Here the whole thing is that positivity equals proactive productivity and progress. Okay. You are in a positive work environment. Okay. We're going to become much more productive in the organization. Okay. And we're going to, the increase in productivity, and I don't, is market. Okay, not the increase in the productivity. Why? Because we're not wasting all of our time and effort talking behind people's backs, becoming negative about what the latest decision was that the management made. So the thing is, let it make it. That's their job. Okay, you can question things, and I don't think that's a big deal. But okay, don't question them amongst yourselves, okay, in a negative fashion. Okay, so it increases productivity. There's much more collaboration if you're in a positive work environment. Again, why? Well, because we have that level of trust. A positive work environment has a high level of trust. It enhances your customer service. You all have customers, okay? And you will have enhanced customer service. So that's one of the things that's just one thing that just comes naturally when you have a positive work environment. turnover is typically lower. Okay, and there is a willingness to share and assist. In a lot of negative organizations, what ends up happening is people want to protect their sandbox. Okay, don't get into my sandbox. Don't do this. And so what they're going to be doing is telling on other people and those types of things, and the willingness to share and assist. Now, I think there's one more. Nope. Okay. Before I go on, can I open it up to anybody that may have some questions, comments, people that have been involved in that whirlwind of negativity may want to add some comments to this? Anyone? I hear someone. Kristen, what do you think so far? Are you muted? Anyone?
Yep, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, Robert, I can hear you. Thank you.
Sorry, I'm joining late.
That's all right.
So,
All right. I don't know how late you joined, but one of the things let me ask you this, Robert. Okay. Have you ever been involved in a negative work environment? And it doesn't have to be now with the city of Dubuque. It's got to be, it could be anywhere that you've worked.
I think absolutely. I would be surprised if a majority of people didn't say yes,
Yeah. I know, like I said, but I have to raise my hand because I've been involved in that kind of thing
I don't
too.
think people would be truthful if they said they weren't.
Yes, but now I want to ask you another question. What was the result of being involved in that? Did you?
Some of the
work
people left. Some of the
Go ahead,
people
I'm sorry.
some of the people left the organization,
Mm-hmm.
and that helped.
Mm-hmm. Did it make the organization better
Yes. Yep.
by those people leaving?
Yeah, it did because
Okay.
the negativity kind of went with it.
Oh, I see. So some of those people that you were talking about left the organization, and so it did make the organization better. How long did that take to have them leave?
Well, at times quite a while.
Uh-huh.
But
Okay.
but
And the organization, yeah. So you're saying that the negativity, since we were talking about one of your coworkers or something like that, that they got sick and tired of it and just left. So you made it as miserable as possible for them, so they had to leave.
I wouldn't say that. I would say that they kind of made their own bed, so to speak.
Okay.
And just decided it just probably wasn't a good fit for them, and they needed to try something different.
Okay. Did the supervisor of that individual ever intervene in some of the, I guess, negativity that you were talking
No, not really.
about, or with that particular employee?
Everybody just kind of dealt
Okay.
with it,
Okay, so it was the peers that kind of got involved with that.
Yeah, you could say that.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Thank you for sharing that. Good information. So, in other words, you were negative to that one person. Took a long time to get them out of the organization, and it didn't help. But we haven't done anything to correct it until the employees just kind of used peer pressure to move that person out, and then it got better.
Yeah, then it got better. It just
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
Breath of
Anybody
fresh-
else?
Breath of fresh air,
There you go. Thank God they're gone. I know. I've heard about organizations where when somebody left, they had a big party for the individual, but they didn't invite that person to that party because they were so glad that that person left. So, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Anybody else? Don, got anything to say? Appreciate it, Robert. Alicia, hear me. Do I have to unmute these people? No. Okay. All right. There's no other comments. I am going to move on. I like to kind of so okay, let me move on. Here's your action items, okay? Number one, okay, take stock of the great things about working for your organizations. I see there's a lot of people from a lot of organizations that are here right now, okay? I got Clinton and Dubuque and West Branch and the Children's Center and the YWCA, so almost home. So there's a lot of different organizations here. I'm sure all of them have their pluses and their minuses, but I want to take stock, okay, of the great things working for your organization. And that's one of the things that I would recommend you do, and you write them down. Not just keep them in your head. You take them and you write them down. That way you kind of have a list, and you also help commit to memory some of the good things about your organization. Like I said before, you set the example. You set the example by not getting involved in the negativity and stopping it, okay, when someone comes to you, okay, and starts talking negatively about individuals. If there's something to be dealt with, and, Robert, I appreciate what you said, but I kind of disagree with the way of going about it. If that person was bringing down the rest of the organization, if they were disruptive, not doing their job, if they were one of those employees that we had in one of those slides, then, something should have been done about that a long time before, you kind of like peer pressured the personnel of the organization. So with anybody in a supervisory capacity, and we got people in supervisor and non-supervisory capacities, you've got to set the example, and you've got to have that courageousness to intervene in those individuals who are disruptive, scream and yell, that the ones that the pet rock, the yes person, all those individuals, and the one that's flunking and not doing their job. It's your job. One of the things I always say about anybody in a supervisory or management position is your only job, okay, is to improve the talent in your organization. Ongoing. Improve the talent in your organization. If you're going to allow people to not meet standards, then you're not improving the talent, okay? If you're, so if you have disruptive employees, people just don't work well in those environments, so the talent level is going to go down, okay? So that's what your job is. Set the example of doing that. Pay attention. Pay good attention to what's going on. If you're walking up to a group of people who are chit-chattering or something like that, and all of a sudden they see you and shut up and go their separate ways, something's happening, okay? And so keep an eye on certain things that are going on. Keep an eye for little, backroom conversations. The problem is right now, okay, that you've got a lot of people, like I said, group chats they can set up on their own, okay, that we've got 5 or 10 people, and we're going to sit there and gossip about everybody, and they're going to bring that level of negativity to a higher level that will be destructive to the organization. So got to pay attention to what's happening and what's going on. I want to make sure, okay, that people who are doing a good job, okay, one way to make this a positive work environment is to give personal recognition to your coworkers or your employees, subordinates. The thing is, in most organizations, things are kind of like negative bent anyway. We're looking for exceptions to the accepted way of doing things, and then we write them up, okay? Instead of looking at someone that is doing their job, doing it well, day in and day out, well, hey, that's what we expect. But do you want to just every once in a while say, something, I've noticed that you've been doing your job well for a long period of time. I just want to say thank you. Okay. Or if someone does something special, okay, give recognition where recognition is due. Okay. Another thing in a negative work environment are people who, take credit for somebody else's work. So you actually and that's a negative right there. Personalize that recognition. Tell people, give them a pat on the back. I'm going to ask if anybody in here thinks they've been patted on the back too many times. And I'll bet you nobody will say yes. So this is a little bit of a change in the organizational culture that you got to kind of take a look at. Personalize that recognition. But I'm going to tell you, when you meet your goals and objectives, celebrate together. I learned this lesson a long time ago. Okay, I was working at a place in which, electronics manufacturing place, and record sales that year. And so what we did is we let all the salespeople and their spouses or significant other take a week trip down to the Virgin Islands, and I don't want to know what they did during that week. I was walking through the manufacturing floor, and one of the employees said to me, Bob, there's people that are out in the Virgin Islands, they wouldn't be able to sell their our products if we weren't making good products. And I said, you're right. And actually, it's one of those things where we got to celebrate together. And, we started doing that from then on. Okay. Emphasize the positive. Okay. Take stock of the positive, emphasize it. Okay. And that's going to make things a lot more attainable in your organization. Okay. Emphasize the positive things by patting people on the back, by telling people that they did a good job. Be courageous. Like I said before, here's some more. Foster that teamwork. Look, you're going to be if you're in a work environment in which there is a high level of teamwork support, okay, and out there, it's a much better place to work. Okay, we're going to provide that support to coworkers. Somebody may be having a bad day or had a bad time with a customer or something like that. Tell them to take a break. Okay, walk away. I'll take the things for you for a little while. And then the other part of that is when you need it, they'll be doing that. And it doesn't have to be a work rule. It's just something that happens automatically because of the culture of the organization. Now, changing a culture of an organization is rather difficult. Okay, coach and develop your employees. Okay, this is more of a management, but you also need this when you're talking about, those new employees or those individuals who are taking on a new role. And, you can do the coaching and developing, even if you're not their immediate supervisor. And it does create wonderful teamwork. Okay, they got to, but, people sometimes need a safe place to vent. Now, that could be the manager. It could be the supervisor. Okay, we all need to vent once in a while. But when we start to vent to each other, it's when the things kind of get, a little toxic and out of control. Okay, so we have to have that safe place to vent. Create that open door policy if you haven't already. Look, do a few things every now and then. Okay, personal notes to employees, complimenting on the work that they did or saying thank you once in a while. That's actually my last one. Okay. Inform coworkers of the risks of being negative, especially if you're in a management position. Do that often. It's one of those things that's every once in a while. You got to have your staff meetings and go and say, hey, I just want to kind of bring this up. I don't know if it's happening out here, but because I haven't heard much in the way of negative talk. But if we have it going on now, bring it up at a staff meeting and find out what's happening. Allow people the safe place to talk. And then every once in a while, just give them information that says, hey, if you're going to be negative, sooner or later, things are going to happen to the bad. Okay? Make sure positivity is valued. Spread the word. I said conflict is good, but it has to be dealt with directly and maturely. And we have a conversation and we come to an agreement. Okay? You don't have to throw things. Okay? We don't have to scream and yell. We don't have to, and I fired people for screaming and yelling, okay? Because that's just not a good way to get things done. But the whole thing is, you're going to have conflict, okay? But you got to deal with it effectively, okay? Conversations, culture of trust. That means, okay, we don't lie. I mean, what a concept. We're going to tell the truth, okay? The only way we're going to develop trust in the organization is make sure you tell the truth. And I'm going to tell you something. If you are sending an email to a coworker, say you're going to confirming the conversation and duties and responsibilities, and you carbon copy your boss, their boss, the boss's boss, and the boss's boss's boss, okay? There is no trust, okay, in that organization. I don't mind you carbon copying the two bosses, but when we start adding more to that, then we have no level of trust. So what? Because it's really done in a cover your rear end kind of fashion. Okay, so instill that culture of trust in your organization. And by the way, not only that, you're sending the carbon copy, or the worst is the blank carbon copy. Okay, to your boss's boss's boss. Then you know that you're doing it to make sure that you know that they know as well. Okay, doing your boss and boss, that's for an information only. No complaining to others. It's not going to solve issues. Okay, no complaining. I always have this no complaining rule, in which I don't mind that you have some comments or something like that may be quote unquote negative. Okay, but have a solution. Okay, instead of complaining, have a solution. So if someone is complaining to you, another way you can kind of shut it down is to say, so what do you suggest we do about that? Okay, and that's another way to shut it down. Okay, and then say thank you. Say it often. So just a couple of things to do. So here we are, and my whole thing, just say no to negativity. Easy, but it's something that a lot of times we don't think about. So this is what I want you to do. I want you to take a couple of minutes and just write this down, okay? 2 things you're going to do differently to make your workplace a more positive work environment as soon as you get to work after lunch. And if someone wants to share something, I would love it. Look at this. I'm right on time. Said it'd be an hour.
Thanks, Bob. I would just say, something that stuck out to me in the beginning is taking a new person out for lunch. We have new people, every once in a while, and I know everybody here is really welcoming and inviting, but I know, like you're saying, it means more, I think, to take time out of your day and say, hey, you want to go grab lunch on their first day? I mean, that's a nice way to, kind of put your money where your mouth is, so to speak. So
Right. I always think that too. I think it's a good first impression. That you say welcoming. You only have that one chance to make a good first impression, and if that first impression is not good, then they're probably not going to hang around that long. So with that, I really appreciate you saying that.
anybody else? Okay, if not, I guess that concludes. Thanks, Bob. I appreciate it.
Okay, Robert, thank you very much. And if you have any questions or comments, the next slide, okay? Feel free to call me, text me, email me, okay? That's my information. If you want to do things privately, fine, do that, and I'll get it, and I will get back to you in no more than 24 hours. So it'll be usually less than that. So thank you all for attending. Make that list, okay, of things you're going to do differently, and then make sure you implement that. Make it a better work environment, and go from there. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
All righty. Bye-bye now.
Bye.